What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is your Fanduel NFL Week 2 First Look Lineup. All right, and we're going to break down all the games and take a look at everything over on FanDuel. But first, I want to congratulate Rapid Fire XD again on the big Millie Maker takedown this past weekend. First place on DraftKings, $1 million top prize, plus a Tournament of Champions ticket. Life-changing. Great job, Rapid Fire XD. Rapid Fire has been a DFS Army subscriber for the better part of the last 4 years, so couldn't have happened to a better person. And I really do think that the Domination Station Optimizer, and most importantly, the backtest functionality really played a big part in helping Rapid Fire XD take this thing down. Just the ability to go back and re-optimize slates from last year and hone in on the settings and whatnot has been a game changer for us. So great job and big congrats to Rapid Fire XD. Now, what we're going to do today, as always, we're taking a look at FanDuel. We're going to kind of go through the games a little bit, do a little bit of breakdown of what we think of these games, and then we're taking a look at the salary pricing system on FanDuel this week. There are some incredible bargains. I think there are some misprices. One player, borderline core, or not will be core, but borderline all in, which I will mention as we break this down. But the first thing I like to do on these breakdowns is just go through the games and kind of get a sense of which games look juicy, what looks enticing. And we'll go through it real brief, but Panthers at the Giants. I mean, two running backs that are interesting, but this game carries a 43-point projected game total, pretty low. A lot of the money is actually coming in on the over, so that is interesting. But overall, Saquon Barkley is the man. He is priced up massively this week, as you can see on FanDuel. And Christian McCaffrey is right up here too. So two of the most expensive running backs facing off in this one. Not a whole lot of excitement outside of that in that game. Jets at Cleveland, 40-point disgusting total. Again, Nick Chubb is priced up really high here on FanDuel for a guy that gets vultured seemingly by Kareem Hunt all the time. So, this is a really good matchup and a place where he could smash. But again, the vulture's waiting there, and that's a lot to pay for a guy who isn't a consistent touchdown scorer or who is splitting goal line work. A little scary. Patriots at Steelers. That one carries a 40.5-point disgusting low total. Steelers probably lost their top defender, for at least a few weeks, so he won't be out there. Patriots not looking that great. This game does not look that great at all. I'm not interested at 40.5-point total. It's gross. Dolphins versus the Ravens. I think this one actually has a little bit of sneaky upside. The game total is 43.5, really low. I just think there's some real sneaky upside. I like the Dolphins offense. Ravens offense is pretty good. This one I'm going to have some interest in, definitely in tournaments, even though it won't be attractive from a game total perspective. Colts versus Jaguars. Again, I liked what I saw out of the Jaguars offense from a concentration point of view. And what I mean by that is, the Jaguars are throwing to Christian Kirk a lot, and I like that. Throwing to one guy. A lot of passes in general in that game for Trevor Lawrence, so that's good. And of course, we have our boy Jonathan Taylor on the Colts, who how many touches last week? I believe he had 31 carries. There it is. I mean, what can you ask for? 31 carries, 7 targets, 4 receptions. This is as good as it gets for a running back. The usage is crazy good. This is as good of a matchup as you're ever going to see for Jonathan Taylor. And if we could fit him in our lineups this week, obviously he's a little more expensive than some of these other guys, but I think totally worth it in this matchup. If we could fit him in our lineups, that's somebody we're going to want to get to. It is more doable on FanDuel to play these super high price guys, especially when you see some of the bargains that are going on at wide receiver on FanDuel. They made it free. I think we're going to be able to do it. Commanders at the Lions. Got a 49-point total. I love this game. This is a game. This might be my favorite game of the week. As of right now, this is the one that stands out to me the most. Lions games always go high scoring. Carson Wentz, you know what? I think I'm on board. With Carson Wentz. Lions, you got the Sun God, Swift. There's not that many Hawkinson. There aren't that many pieces in the weapons in this offense. Of course, Jamal Williams hanging out, just vulturing, kind of potentially ruining Swift. But I really like this game. This is one I will be looking to target heavily. Seahawks, 49ers, 42-point total. I don't know what to say. Geno Smith covers the spread, 9-0. Got to bet the Seahawks here. Take the 9.5. Just take the 9. I can't even understand how they're this big of an underdog. But the 49ers, they lose the running back Eli Mitchell. So now you've got, it's Jeff Wilson Jr. situation. I'm a little bit concerned about it. Fanduel priced up the running back from the 49ers, Wilson Jr., to the point where I think I don't need to fuck with him on the slate. There are other guys just cheaper. I don't like Jeff Wilson Jr. up here at 6,300. If we had a sub, a 5,500 decision to make, that would be different. But he's priced up to the point where he's hanging out with actual starting running backs. So I'm not down with that. I don't think. Falcons Rams, another one with a massive spread. Rams 10.5-point favorites. That does speak highly of the Rams running back Darrell Henderson Jr., who you could see down here on screen is. He's going to be a core play, guys. He's going to be a core play for us at 6,200. That's an every lineup situation. Darrell Henderson got all the work last week. I think it was over 80%. Tons of targets in the passing game. This was a losing effort, but when they're playing from ahead and, the way FanDuel operates, it's weird how they set up the salaries. It goes by the score, not by the usage. We're going to take advantage of that. Darrell Henderson's going to be a core play. Texans versus Broncos. Again, Broncos are heavy favorites at home. I don't know if that's appropriate, and I will be looking to potentially put some money down on the Texans if this spread holds at plus 10. As far as the total, 43.5 points. Again, I think this one has a little bit of sneaky potential. Texans offense looked pretty decent. Rex Burkhead, the starting running back, who knew? I thought it was Damian Pierce. It could switch every week. That's going to be a scary situation. Probably not something I'm going to feel safe with at all. But there are weapons on both sides of these teams that are interesting. Jerry Jeudy, a little underpriced on FanDuel this week. I want touchdown scorers. Even KJ Hamler's in play, certainly Courtland Sutton. So I think all of the pass-catching weapons on the Broncos carry at least some interest. Bengals Cowboys. This one doesn't excite me too much. Bengals should smash here. I'm not really sure how or who, but, Cowboys with Cooper Rush, it's just not a good scene. I don't think. Bengals are only 7-point favorites right now. That's interesting as well. But the game total 43 doesn't scream, high-scoring affair. Bengals could still do a little bit of damage depending on if T. Higgins is out and maybe that offense gets a little more concentrated. But this definitely feels like a Joe Mixon spot to me, and avoid all Cowboys at all costs. Do not screw with them. Bears Packers. Again, Packers heavy 10-point favorites. Understandable. Oh, that's the night game. We don't want that one. Yeah, is that them all? Yeah. Did we miss any? No, that takes us through the whole list. So there we go. Now we're going to get into the position groups here a little bit. And I've already showed you a couple of running backs that I really like a lot to start our lineups out with. Taylor and Henderson. I'm going to just pull myself out of the picture here so we could see the screen. Taylor and Henderson look really good. Continuing down the running back position. Again, on FanDuel, Barkley, McCaffrey, these guys are kind of pricey. All of them are reasonable tournament plays. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley has great usage. I kind of want to try to get Saquon Barkley in my lineups just because, he just looks so great and so much usage. There's nothing not to like. It's a little crazy to pay the same price as Christian McCaffrey, though. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that differentiates. Scrolling on down, another guy who got all the touches was Leonard Fournette. Again, Tampa, New Orleans, not necessarily the team I'm always trying to target running backs against, but I do think that Tampa will have to lean heavily on Fournette. This might not be the spot. I didn't mention this game, Arizona at Las Vegas. Let's get my order. My odds table order was a little bit out of order here, but that is the highest scoring projected game on this slate, I believe. If I can find it, here we go. That has a 51.5-point game total. So Cardinals Raiders, that is the game. Although again, there are some close seconds here. So we want a piece of this game. if we can get it. James Conner's a really good way to get that piece. He had the majority of the volume, even though it didn't produce that much in week 1. 6 targets, 5 receptions. They're throwing to Conner. They're running it with. I really like him in this spot. He's another player I'm going to try to squeeze into my lineups this week if I can. Cordell Patterson came in last week, and it's too early in the week to assume that Tyler Algier or somebody else won't be brought in for the Williams brother that got injured last week for Atlanta. And I don't really love playing anybody against the Rams unless you're on the Bills. But so I'm not going to be super excited about Patterson, but he is in play. Gibson as well. Gibson had a good week, but the reality was, I mean, look at all these targets. It's really hard to not like Gibson in this spot. He got so much work. J.D. McKissic was out there quite a bit as well. So, but there was just a lot of work to go around, and I like that game. So he's definitely somebody we keep in mind. Javonte Williams as a heavy favorite, 7,300. He is splitting with Melvin Gordon, but he looks palpably like the better player than Melvin Gordon. Look at all these targets. I mean, 12 targets in one game. It's crazy. That's really, really good. They definitely ran a lot of screenplays in Seattle this past week. So, all right. So a lot of interesting running back plays that all look pretty good. Najee Harris, I'm not loving the foot. I'm definitely not touching him against New England. Kamara, same deal. Not in love with what I saw out of him week 1 at all. Just the volume wasn't there, and I'm just not in love with it. I ain't loving it. Zeke is a cross off your list. I don't play Kareem Hunt. I know it comes back to burn me a lot, but he's 1 of 2. I don't play him. Elijah Mitchell out. Robinson, how do you like this? I mean, freaking Achilles doesn't matter to him. Comes in and, that's a real spot where I was wrong this offseason. I thought, no way somebody's coming back from an Achilles that fast. We see Cam Akers can't seem to make his comeback, but James Robinson, man, he's back and looks like the lead back for Jacksonville. I don't know if I love him in the spot, but it's just interesting. Josh Jacobs, let's just take a look at his usage last week. Not that great. 10 rushes. I don't like it. So he's not going to excite me too much. Rashad Penny, though, he's got that lead role. I don't know. Again, he's playable. He's tournament playable, I suppose. And then, of course, we get to our core play, Darrell Henderson Jr. Look at all these touches. I mean, 5 targets, 13 rushes in a losing effort. This is the core play for me this week. He's a guy that I think we got to load up on, and we're just going to assume that the Rams will continue to feature him over Cam Akers. Chase Edmonds was the starting running back. He got good usage, little targets in the passing game. He can be played here if we need to save money at the running back position as well. And that's about it. Michael Carter was the lead back for the Jets. Oh, one more I'll mention here is Rex Burkhead. Rex Burkhead got all the looks for 8 targets, 14 carry. I mean, he's the starter. It's not Dameon Pierce. And I like this spot for the starting running back for Houston. This is actually a playable spot. If we need to save money, this is doable. So I almost don't want to do it, but he could be slotted in here. We could take a shot. I don't know if I'm doing it in cash, but he is startable. Let's see how much salary we have left over at the end. All right. Looking at the defense position, I'm not going to get too crazy with it. I look for cheap defenses. That's just what I do. Right? I have not even looked at this, but let's just get a quick, brief glance. Seattle at San Francisco, playable because it's Trey Lance. Houston at Denver, no. Jets at Cleveland, probably not. Arizona at Las Vegas, probably not. New England, you can always play New England. And Cincinnati up here against Dallas with the Cooper Rush at the helm. I think I'm going to go with Cincinnati here and just go up against the rookie. But I do like to pay less than this. Probably the most appropriate defense to use is Seattle. Let's do the cheapest one. So we'll go to Seattle. But realistically, again, I wouldn't mind having a little bit left over to upgrade from here. But good enough. So there are some other bargains floating around that I really we'll get to. We'll get to them all. So tight end position this week is actually not super complicated. If we're paying up, we're paying for Mark Andrews. Avoid Darren Waller at all costs. The targets are going to Devontae Adams. They're not going to D-Ron. Sorry. Taysom Hill priced up stupidly, had 1 target. He just scored a lot. That's one of the things that FanDuel does. Doesn't look at the actual game log, just the number. So don't worry about that. But if we're not paying up for Mark Andrews, and I want to pay up for Mark Andrews, I like the price at 7,400 very much. As a matter of fact, I'm going to slot him in. But if we're not paying up for him, Hawkinson at 5,700 is great. Can't touch Schultz. But Fryermuth, he had plenty of targets last week. Yeah, 10 targets, 5 receptions, 75 yards. That's great. He could be played here. Tyler Higbee, same as usual, he was on the field 90% of the time. He gets all of this sort of playing time, and he runs a lot of routes, but he doesn't tend to put up big numbers. I don't know why. Zach Ertz, fine by me. Another guy that we can mess with down here. Got a couple of targets last week, but came in kind of banged up. If he's feeling healthier this week, I think that's a fine play. And maybe Evan Ingram if we want. I don't usually do this on, I don't punt this low most of the time on FanDuel. I don't think you need to at the tight end position, but Evan Ingram got a bunch of targets as well, 4 targets, some receptions. He was on the field 80% of the time. He's just giving you the usage numbers that we like. So a couple of nice options at tight end. If we want to pay down, it's probably Hawkinson or Fryermuth, maybe Pitts. Not in love with that matchup, but Pitts got some targets, not many catches. But, he got the usage last week, but it's probably Fryermuth or Hawkinson if I want to pay down. But I will try to pay up and get Mark Andrews. I love him for a bounce back this week. I really do. Now, taking a look at our salaries. We are getting kind of low here. It's tough when you use Jonathan Taylor in a lineup to afford things. So we're not going to be able to afford the top quarterbacks on the slate, but I just want to mention some of them. I mean, Kyler Murray, yeah, great. 8,500 at Las Vegas, highest projected game on the slate. Definitely in play. Lamar Jackson, again, I love the sneaky upside of this game. Definitely in play for me. I probably like Tom Brady a little bit less. I think this team's going to have to rely a little bit more on defense, and I think they can in a game like this against the Saints. Saints didn't look that great on offense, so I think Tampa maybe keeps this one a little lower scoring than we're hoping for. Burrow probably not going to need to do much in a game like this. Same with Stafford. I mean, Stafford's playable. Last season in these spots where you would think that they would just kind of run the football and score that way, the Rams actually would just run up the score, and Stafford would get these big. They don't have the game logs from last year. You know what? I'll look at the game logs on DraftKings because they still have last week's game logs up and when we do that video. But yeah, Stafford actually smashed in their heavy favorite games last season. So he is in play for me. Trey Lance in play as well. Had a tough game week 1. That's not going to continue every single week. The guy I think I like the most here on this list, though, is Carson Wentz. Wentz is a little bit cheaper than the rest of them, coming off a huge week. And this isn't really chasing last week, although a little bit, so much as I just like this game environment. I really like this game environment in general. It's like second highest scoring on the slate. I think people are scared to play Carson Wentz. He's got cheap weapons to throw to. So, and elite weapons as well. I just like this team. They don't have a running back that can smash in at the goal line, so they have to throw for touchdowns more often than not. I like all of those things for all those reasons. So we'll plug in Carson Wentz at the QB position. Now let's take a look at wide receivers. Got a lineup to complete. Remembering that we have the ability to switch down at tight end or RB2, or even if necessary, RB1, though I really do want to try to get Jonathan Taylor in this lineup. So we're not going to be able to spend up on these incredible wide receivers. But looking up top, again, if I'm playing Stafford, I might play Cooper Kupp together with him. Cooper Kupp probably not needed again as much this week as he has been in past weeks. And since I have Darrell Henderson in this lineup already, certainly not a consideration. Davante Adams is just worth noting. 17 target. I mean, David Carr has done this before. Remember last season, like Darren Waller got 18 targets week 1, and they never had another big targets week again the whole season. But I think that this will be a trend for Davante Adams. They're going to feed the stud. Teams feed stud wide receivers. They always do this. I talked about it all offseason. Don't worry about Adams. Play him every week. Chase with no T. Higgins would be probably the best play on the slate, except again, this doesn't seem like a game where Cincinnati's going to need that much throwing. I still think he could just style out there 2 touchdowns, no problem. But there's risk here that they just lean on Mixon and defense and just it's a non-competitive game, so keep it in mind. Mike Evans will get peppered with targets. He has a history of not doing that well against Marshawn Lattimore, but that's all basically BS anyway. Evans should be fine in this spot. But again, we don't have the funds to pay up. Deebo Samuel has had his best games of his career when his primary running back, Eli Mitchell, is out of the game. They're going to run Deebo more in this game. He could absolutely smash at very low ownership. Pittman, coming off a smash week, is not overpriced at 7,800. Still playable here. I like him. Marquis Brown scored last week. Terry McLaurin would be an interesting stack with Wentz possibility, especially coming off of the week where a lot of the other wide receivers on Washington did a lot of the damage. Curtis Samuel and Jayhan Dodson. But those Curtis Samuel and Jayhan Dodson are available super cheap. And I kind of want to go that way. Here maybe because we need to afford it. So we paid up at some of the other positions. So I'm just kind of keeping that in mind here. Michael Thomas had a big week last week. Amon-Ra makes sense for the Carson Wentz stack, although I'm not sure how much of a touchdown guy he's going to be from week to week. He did get one last week. So and listen, I like his chances. I really think he's the prime guy. Another possibility, like I said, with the correlation would be to switch down to Hawkinson to get a little correlation in this lineup that we're building. And of course, to save some money so we could pay for a better wide receiver. But there are a lot of reasonably priced wide receivers, again, on the slate. So I want to kind of go through them here and see if we can actually make a lineup using this grouping. Sutton, you know what? Sutton looked great, but he didn't look better than Jerry Jeudy out there, nor did he look like a bigger focal point than Jerry Jeudy. 7 targets, 4 receptions. Let me just see here. 7 targets, 4 receptions, 72 yards. Not bad. Cashed a prop over on Sutton, so cash that prop, right? Jerry Jeudy, 7 targets, 4 receptions, 102 yards, touchdown. So, these salaries came out before the game was played. And how could you play Courtland Sutton for so much more when him and Jerry Jeudy are essentially the same guy? So I'm just going to plug in Jerry Jeudy here in this spot because I do like how Russell Wilson can just throw bombs all the time. And Jerry Jeudy, he just looked good out there to me. I love this kid. I'm a Jerry Jeudy fan. So I'm plugging him in here. I like the spot at home against Houston, where I think Houston will be a little more competitive than people think. Other names that are certainly viable here across the board. Tyler Boyd, I don't like paying up for him. FanDuel moved his price up because he's starting. Christian Kirk had the great week, 12 targets, 6 receptions. I like Christian Kirk. I like Christian Kirk in the spot. It's not the best matchup in terms of the Colts defense, but can we afford him? 6K left? I don't know. So let's kind of keep going down, but he is definitely somebody I'm interested in this week. DJ Moore, a little bounce back game. That can happen here. I have no problem with him. Jarvis Landry had the big week last week. Not sure. I think he can repeat it. See if we could find anybody sub 6K. That looks interesting. I mean, Curtis Samuel here. Listen, this might be the guy. 11 targets, 8 receptions. This is ridiculous. You know what? I'm putting in Curtis Samuel. I'm putting in Curtis freaking Samuel. Curtis freaking Samuel. 11 targets. They're running him. Will it happen again? Oh, did he get any runs? No. But will it happen again? 7 targets, 8 receptions? I don't know. But for that price, I mean, we could also get the other stack with Carson Wentz in here. Jayhan Dodson, he scored the 2 touchdowns. But if you take a look at Jayhan, we liked him this offseason. I have him on a lot of my dynasty teams, so I was really happy. He only had 5 targets, but 2 touchdowns. This is a dangerous stat line, right? This is deceptive. I like what Curtis Samuel did a lot more because he was heavily involved. The touchdowns are going to be a little bit less predictable. So I'm going with Curtis Samuel there, and I actually think maybe Jayhan will be the higher owned of the two. Doing that leaves us 6,300 in salary for the last spot in this potential lineup. And again, without getting too crazy here, I'm going to plug in, let's see, can we get cheaper anywhere else? Listen, in the final discussion, could I switch out Andrews for, I'm going to do it just for the correlative play. I'm going to switch out Andrews for Hawkinson to get a little more of that Detroit Washington game. And it's going to open up some salary, 8K, where we can actually plug in a stud. And I'm going to plug in Debo. That's my bike punk. Samuel here. He did not have the big week 1, but I like the extra potential running game usage that we will get out of him this week. Should be low owned. To me, this is a Sunday million worthy lineup, to be honest. Lots of correlation going on here. Do we have anything left over? No, I'm putting it in. There we go. So there you have it. NFL week 2, FanDuel first look. We kind of covered the entire slate for you guys, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. There is a notification bell up in the top corner of your screen. It's over there. Hit the notification bell as we are doing DFS videos all week long. We got FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo. We cover it all. Prize picks. We cover it all. And of course, if you're not signed up at DFS Army and you want to join the team that the winners join, make sure we have a special going in honor of our Army Millionaire Rapid Fire XD. We're actually doing a 20% off VIP extended through this week, 20% off. Our VIP covers all sports, NASCAR, college football. Our niche sports are elite, the best in the business. Not to mention, of course, NFL and all the regular sports, all the big names. $69.99. That's half of what the other sites charge. Less than half. We got to raise that shit. But it's less than half what the other sites charge. And now you're getting 20% off. Brings down to $55 a month. There is no better deal out there. Domination Station Optimizer. Everything you need over at DFSArmy.com. Get signed up right now. I will see you guys next time on another FanDuel First Look lineup.